Hello, I'm Jaewon Lee, also known as Lawyer Seoul, and I'm here to help you understand the recent protests happening in Seoul. If you have been curious about where these protests are taking place and what you as a foreigner should know, stay tuned. So first, let's talk about the protests themselves. Right now, Seoul is seeing two main types of protests. Protests supporting the impeachment of President Yoon Suk-yeol and protests opposing his impeachment. Here's an interesting distinction between those two protests. The impeachment support protests are usually attended by younger people, and you'll often see K-pop music and light sticks. Yes, the same light sticks that you see at K-pop concerts. Impeachment opposing protests, on the other hand, tend to attract an older crowd. You might also spot American flags at these protests. Why the American flags? Some say it's due to the historical connection to the Korean War, but honestly, please don't ask me for further explanations. So, understanding the mood and style of each protest can help you decide where to go if you are just curious or observing. And now let's talk about the key locations for protests. The first is Gwanghwamun Plaza. Gwanghwamun Plaza is one of the most prominent locations because it's right in the heart of Seoul. This place has a long history of hosting protests because of its symbolic significance. For example, during the impeachment of former President Park Geun-hye, massive protests took place here. Currently, both pro and anti-impeachment protests frequently happen in this area. Behind Gwanghwamun used to be the Blue House. There still is the Blue House, the official residence of Korean presidents for decades. While President Yoon Suk-yeol doesn't live there, its historical and political significance still draws protesters. And the second, the National Assembly in Yeouido. Protests are also common near the National Assembly in Yeouido, especially when major political decisions are being debated. Right after the declaration of martial law on December the 3rd, for instance, protests were held here. If there's a major political issue in the news, it's a good idea to check whether protests are happening around Yeouido. Constitutional Court. Another location is the Constitutional Court, where key legal decisions regarding impeachment are made. Citizens often gather here to show support or voice their opinions while waiting for the court's rulings. Lastly, we have the presidential residence in Hannam-dong, which President Yoon Suk-yeol chose instead of the Blue House. So, he now lives in this Hannam-dong residence. This area can be particularly tense. Why? Because this is where the most passionate supporters and opponents of the president gather. You will also see significant military, police, and media presence. There is a high risk of clashes between opposing groups. My advice? Please avoid this area. It's not just about safety. There are legal reasons too, which I'll explain next. If you're a foreigner living in or visiting Korea, you might wonder if you can participate in these protests. Here's what you need to know. Under Article 17, Paragraph 3 of the Immigration Act of Korea, foreigners are prohibited from engaging in political activities in Korea. This includes protests, And while there have been cases of foreigners being deported for political activities, it's usually tied to violations of other laws like criminal behavior. Deportation purely for attending a protest is very rare, but it's not impossible. Participation in peaceful protests is unlikely to lead to immediate consequences. However, if a protest turned violent, becomes illegal, or if you disobey police orders, you could face criminal charges and immigration penalties, which include deportation. So, if you attend a protest, stay as an observer, not a participant. Avoid protests in areas known for high tension, like the presidential residence in Hanam-dong. Always comply with police instructions and leave immediately if there's any sign of conflict or violence. Protests are a key part of democracy, and it's fascinating to see how they play out in different cultures. But as a foreigner in Korea, it's crucial to respect local laws and stay safe. If you ever find yourself in legal trouble or need advice, don't hesitate to reach out to Lawyer Seoul. I'm here to help you navigate these situations legally and responsibly. Stay safe, stay informed, and I'll see you in the next video.